The Cowboys Gamble. Part 5 of 8. The Shootout at Valley Ranch. Yesterday we stood on the mountain of back-to-back Super Bowls. The Dallas Cowboys had conquered the league, erased the humiliation of 115, and resurrected America's team in a blaze of confetti and champagne. But even as the trophies gleamed, the cracks were already spidering beneath the surface. Because ego cannot rest in triumph. It must demand more, and when it cannot get more, it demands division. That is how we arrive at Valley Ranch, the practice facility that became the battlefield of egos. It wasn't helmets colliding or bodies breaking. It was Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson, the owner and the coach, the gambler and the general. Two men who had joined forces to topple the league now stood with pistols drawn in a duel of credit. Jerry believed his gamble had built the dynasty. Jimmy believed his coaching had forged it. And the truth is they were both right. But the ego cannot allow two crowns. So it became a shootout. Jerry claimed 500 coaches could win with this team. Jimmy withdrew, colder, sharper, daring Jerry to replace him. The media circled like vultures, every headline pouring gasoline on the fire. And in the locker room, the players felt it. Aikman later admitted the tension poisoned the air. Emmitt Smith said it was like watching parents fight. Irvin, ever the voice of passion, screamed that the team needed both men, but his pleas could not silence pride. The Cowboys were preparing for a three-peat, but their leaders were preparing for divorce. And then the bullet was fired. Jimmy Johnson was gone. The architect of the dynasty, the man who turned humiliation into glory, was forced out of Dallas. The players were stunned. The locker room fell into silence. Some felt betrayed, some felt angry, others tried to mask the ache with bravado. But deep down, they all knew. This was not about football anymore. It was about ego, credit, and the oldest illusion of all, ownership. Into the vacuum walked Barry Switzer. Switzer was no ordinary replacement. He was a friend of Jerry's, a man with his own reputation for charisma and controversy. Where Jimmy was relentless discipline, Switzer was easy charm. Where Jimmy ruled with an iron fist, Switzer tried to win players with a smile. And at first, the team responded. The talent on the roster was undeniable. Aikman's arm, Emmitt's legs, Irvin's fire, the offensive line's fortress, the defense's fury. It was still all there. In 1995, they climbed again, and the Cowboys won their third Super Bowl in 4 years. The scoreboard suggested continuity, but the spirit told another story. Because even as Switzer hoisted the trophy, the questions swirled. Was it his victory or Jimmy's roster? Did he lead the team or simply ride it? The media hounded him, labeling him a caretaker, not a creator. And the players knew it too. The discipline Jimmy had instilled began to slip. The White House scandals worsened. Off-field chaos became as famous as on-field execution. Games were still won, but the edge had dulled. And slowly, the dynasty began to lose its grip. Metaphysically, the shootout at Valley Ranch reveals the futility of trying to divide what was never separate. Jerry and Jimmy had been a single force when united. Their egos, when joined, had created miracles. But once divided, those egos began to consume themselves. It is the law of the dream. What unites in pursuit must fracture in possession. Because the ego does not know how to share glory. It only knows how to claim it. The players, the fans, even the media were all caught in the same projection. Each demanded to know who deserved the credit. But credit itself was the lie. No one owns the dream. And trying to claim ownership only accelerates its collapse. That is why the Cowboys, even in their greatest era, began to unravel. The three-peat was within reach, but unity was already gone. And without unity, no dynasty can last. Switzer may have held the trophy, but the foundation was already crumbling. What looked like a continuation was really the beginning of the end. The shootout at Valley Ranch is remembered as Jerry forcing Jimmy out, but it is more than that. It is a parable of the mind turning on itself. It is what happens when pride demands the spotlight and unity is sacrificed on the altar of recognition. The Cowboys thought they were fighting for control of a team, but what they were really fighting for was the illusion of being the source of salvation. And salvation cannot be owned. It cannot be branded. It cannot be placed in the hands of an owner or a coach. It is already whole, already present, already complete. That is the lesson Dallas missed, and that is the lesson every mind misses when it tries to divide what is indivisible. Tomorrow, the spotlight shifts. Because into this fractured kingdom walks a man made of spotlight. Deion Sanders, primetime himself. A man who was less a player and more a spectacle. Charisma, controversy, speed and swagger, all wrapped into one body. The Cowboys thought they were adding talent. But what they were really adding was ego with cleats. And the story of primetime will show how the ego loves glitter as much as it loves blood. And how both are just distractions from the truth that was never missing.